There we go. I was reading this this devotional here, the Jesus in Red thing. You can see it. Looks like a pretty evil book, but it's not. It just, what it does is it points out parts of the Bible where Jesus is talking. And today's thing, every day has a different thing. And today's thing was about how you cannot get to God without going through Jesus. You know, this concept that you've heard probably a million times. You can't pray directly to God. You're not supposed to get to the Father God in the kingdom of heaven. You have to go through Jesus Christ. And the reason is, and this is just what I think, and before I get into it, this is just all theory. This is stuff I come up with. But I have a pretty good way of looking at stuff and kind of knowing what's up with it. One of the few gifts I have is that I don't need the instructions for a lot of stuff. I use the IKEA furniture thing a lot. I'm sorry, that's the only one that always comes to mind. Where you empty the furniture on the floor and you pull the instructions out, I can look at the pile of shit and know how it goes together. I don't need the instructions. So in that way, I can look at stuff like interpersonal relationships and things like that. I can just look at it and go, oh, this is what's going on here. I get that sometimes with the Bible. And this is one of those cases, like I'm just thinking about that. And the reason isn't because God doesn't want you to hear from you, and he's like, no, talk to my agent. It's more a case of he can't really communicate with you. He's locked out of this system. I've gone into this before about how I think this system was created, what its intents and purposes was, and that it was supposed to be like a learning area for his progeny. This isn't my concept. A lot of other people, you probably heard it, heard talk about that possibility too. And Jesus, when he came here, was almost like he was almost working IT in the computer sense, and there is a lot of computer stuff that is almost like a 1-1 to a lot of stuff that happens here in this reality, and people think that's some kind of proof that we're a simulation when not. The computer and all those in the way it works, and its mechanics and its terminology, is copying God and his mechanics well, not terminology, but the way he runs his systems. The computer copies him. You know, these computers were created to copy God. The whole point is to try to be God, these freaks that are here. So when he made this place, right, he made it lasting and forever as something of his, and he had his own guys staffing it, so to speak. And they turned against him, and they locked him out of his fucking program. You know? So again, just, I don't mean to be flippant with these computer terms, but it's just an easy way to explain it. They locked him out of his email, basically, out of his system. He can't get in here. So he can't communicate with you. He does through, you know, abstract means, feelings, you know, messages you get, maybe some kind of a good symbology, I don't know. But he can't directly get in here and do anything. And that's why people are always like, oh, if God is, why doesn't God help this sick? Because he can't. He can't. He can't do that. Because there needs to be a rubber hits the road moment with the power of God. Because if he created this place, and this is just my opinion, to be, you know, lasting forever, blah, 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 it's his, you know, all those things, I think the theologists use blah, blah, blah quite a bit. Then could he come in and say, no, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change things now. I'm going to change up the rules. Some things have to be, otherwise, if there isn't any rules to the power of God, then there's no point to really anything. If he could do anything at any time, even go against, if he made, like, just to make this even simpler, if he made a base, right, and he's like, this base is unbreakable, it can never be destroyed no matter what force of power comes upon it. If he decides, oh, I want to break this vase, it can't break. Because he's already made it a certain way. No matter how powerful he is. Do you see kind of what I'm getting at here? In my opinion, you know, because I think there has to be some rules in place within this, or otherwise none of what he does means anything, you know. So I think he created this place, stopped it with these guys turned against him. The soft-handed piano player, the music teacher, somehow convinced a third of the people here, and that's all he needed to, you know, get the other ones on board, whatever he tempted them with, or say, hey, basically he was like, hey, you know, serving him is whatever, but if we here, instead of babysitting his kid, us, all of us together as one thing, as we are, we're just different points of attention, thinking we're people. So, thinking we're individual people, but we're not. So he's like, we can live here sucking off this kid's power, and we can enrich ourselves and build our own heaven, our own fantasy world here with us as kings and queens, doing what we want to do, enjoy the pleasures of the flesh, or be masters in our domain. And that's what they did. And that's what they did. So he can't get in. So Jesus is like the IT guy. He put him into this world to explain to us that not all is right at the Circle K. And if you want to get out of here, you have to follow my direction. Don't do this, don't kill, don't do that. He told you to avoid the sins and the temptations. Because the more you take the carrot from Satan, the longer you're here, you're not going to get out of here. So that was his job. I mean, to kill him, but because I think they knew what he was. It's not they didn't kill him because they didn't believe he was the Son of God. They killed him because they believed he was, you know. But again, they give you everything backwards, history's backwards, and obfuscated, and none of it makes sense. They want you to be confused, you know, or it makes sense in their own world. Everything's opposite Friday with these people, you know, all the time, even till right now. You know, they tell you cold is hot, up is down, the whole thing. You know, you see what's going on in society. You know what's happening here. They do the same thing. So God was locked out of his system, and so to get to God, to be able to get back to the Father, is to go through Jesus. He's telling you this is what you have to do. I'm the way. I'm the way of getting to God, because God can't get to you. You can't get to God. But here's how you can get out of here. That, in my mind, sounded a lot better than it did saying it. Well, I'm just, you know, I'm a C- student here. I'm trying to articulate the best I can. Pretty cool scene, though, right? Look at this. What's going on here? But everybody's having fun, right? Like, oh, we're having a party, right? Nope. Nope. Look who's up there. See? So you know what's going to happen next. But I'd feel embarrassed to let you watch what's about to happen next. So I have to let you go. And I'm going to advance this story on my own before Nia gets home. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.